Bim, guess what? It's Saturday, it's 8 o'clock, and it's time for What a Week That Was on the 28th of January 2023. We're almost a 12th of the way through the year already, which is quite scary. This week we've got Rishi's problems, we've got Sturgeon looking a fool, we've got horror going on in Jerusalem, loads of other stuff as well. Yeah, absolutely shed loads of news this week. So I think the best thing to do is just crack on. Now, a new thing I'm doing this week is I'm doing fun items that I've looked at and I thought they don't really fit into a category, but we'll give them a go anyway. Now, I'm hoping all these are fun, but we'll find out, won't we? We'll find out together. And that's probably the best way of doing this. So, I did notice, caught a bit of a football match, which I don't normally do, and obviously a lot of the immigrants, according to the government, like watching football matches. And how did I know? Because of this subliminal advertising, which basically says, visit Rwanda, which I thought was a little bit bad, but highly funny as well. So well done to the UK government for that one. You can't actually see it because it's way too big. Shrink it down a bit. Why is it so? Oh, I know why it's so massive, because I forgot to screenshot it. There you go. Visit Rwanda. Yeah, it's a shocking indictment on UK politics, where they use football match advertising to get their politics across. I suppose they've got to do something, haven't they? What else has gone on that's moderately amusing? How's about a bear? We all like bears, don't we? How's about this bear that basically knew it was on a camera, and one of these cameras that they stick up to catch nature and all that kind of gubbins that they do. And it had 400 selfies, basically. They said most animals tend to walk past, but not this one. Oh no, this one was having a lovely time posing, which I thought was really cool and really nice. And let's be honest, we like a good story to get us going first thing. But yeah, all different angles, and yeah, that bear's obviously been a human at some point, knows exactly what's going on. Meanwhile, in Manchester, the St Stephen's Square, which has been pedestrianised for ages, they're reopening again to traffic and buses and things like that. So they had the council come in to put all these new road markings on, because the other ones are kind of washed away and just gone. And they put them in the wrong place. So they had to come back the next day and cover them all up again. So I fancy that's somewhere I'm going to go and have a nosy at some point in the near future. Meanwhile, QI come up with this. The oldest city in Egypt was called Crocodiliopus, which I think is a very cool name, and I think they should still have that now. I think that should be the capital of Egypt. Crocodilius. Superb, love it to death. And have I got news for you? Come up with, after Boris Johnson makes yet another surprise visit to Ukraine, his constituents wonder if he'll ever make one to Uxbridge and South Ruislip, which is his actual place where he's an MP of. So yeah, that was rather amusing as well, I thought. Very dry humour, but that's what I like it dry. And then we get on to news of a more serious nature. South Africa's Eskom says worst power cuts for now. Worst power cuts are over for now, but urges that people in South Africa use less electricity. As I keep saying, it's not just a European problem, it's a worldwide problem. I mean, South Africa isn't affected by Brexit, South Africa isn't affected by pretty much anything that we do. But yeah, they're still struggling with power shortages as well. And CNN, everyone's favourite news channel, 44 hours in America, 3 mass shootings, 19 lives wiped out, all in California. Tragedy upon tragedy, 44 hours and 3 mass shootings with 19 dead. America, We've got more about you later on, usually about 40 minutes into this broadcast. But for now, wake up and sort your fucking gun laws out. Thank you. Stop killing each other. It's really, 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 really pathetic what you're doing. And the gun lobby are too powerful, basically. And they're just just telling the government what to do. Anyway, meanwhile, has that done that? I don't know why that's done that. Meanwhile, we're back to regular news. So this is Sunday's news, and hang on a minute, where are we? There we go. Zweli paid tax office is fine whilst he was Chancellor under Boris Johnson. Now that was something that we were not expecting, and basically I now think he should have gone already, but I think definitely if he's paying a fine to the tax office when he's the Chancellor of the Exchequer, there is something wrong somewhere. Meanwhile, calls for power stations that use coal to warm up their boilers because the power shortages and not the power shortages, the fuel shortages that we've got and everything could impact on electricity supplies. So we need to sort out that as soon as possible. Meanwhile, Boris was embroiled in a bit of a scandal with this guy who is the BBC chairman. He basically organised a loan for Boris Johnson of £800,000 whilst he was Prime Minister. I mean, what the hell do you need a loan for 800 grand when you're living at taxpayers' expense on a very big rich wage? Apart from obviously paying all the childcare that he owes. But anyway, that's an ongoing rumbling thing that's currently going. Meanwhile, Boris himself decided to pack himself off to Ukraine. Even though he's not Prime Minister or even in the cabinet anymore, he still went over and saw President Zelensky. He looks very pleased to see him there. It looks like I do when I play Grand Theft Auto and my character has a character come in and start talking, usually Lester, start talking. My character just stands there with his arms straight down his side, just kind of staring and swaying a little bit from side to side because it's so boring. But yeah, bumbling Boris, who's got no power whatsoever, decides to go there. America, wake the fuck up. 10 killed, 10 injured at a mass shooting at a ballroom celebrating Lunar New Year. An Asian man was wanted for the shooting, and a few hours later his body was found in a white van after it had been cornered by the police. But again, the gun crime, it just goes on and on and on, and it terrifies me that America doesn't see the problem. They just seem to think that what they do is right, and like no, none of us think that. The whole world looks at you and thinks, what are you doing? What the hell are you doing? I mean, come on, stop it. Anyway, that was Sunday. On Monday, I got an itchy nose. No, well, I get an itchy nose most days, to be fair, but I did get an itchy nose on Monday as well. On Monday, we had more news with Rishi. The PM orders an investigation into how he's over the ministerial code, and Richard Sharp of the BBC is also put into an inquiry to find out what's going on. I mean, it's just one scandal after another at the minute. I thought with Rishi becoming PM, we'd have a grown-up, even though he's only tiny, a grown-up in charge, but he seems to be grown up without any minerals. They don't seem to have dropped. He seems to be a bit wimpy when it comes to sorting out his staff. He just says, no, we have to wait for due process. No, what you do is you suspend people when there's a question about their behaviour, and then you look into it, and then if there's no problem, you unsuspend them, or if there is a problem, you fire them. But you don't just leave them in office when they can't actually, no one's got any trust in them. So yeah, absolute joke at the moment. Also, again due to energy crisis, a couple of companies, mainly British Gas, have started the cheaper rates if you use electricity or less electricity during peak times. So if you normally put your washing machine on and your dishwasher and your oven and your central heating on between 5 and 8 o'clock at night, if you don't do that, you use a lot less electricity, they will credit your electricity bill. And that's to help reduce the risk of power cuts. Although they keep saying there's no risk of power cuts. Meanwhile, Everton, I don't normally follow football, but Frank Lampard got sacked from the Everton manager's job because, well, he was rubbish. Meanwhile, in Liverpool, Merseyside, Merseyrail got some brand new trains. They paid £500 million for 52 of them, which works out at just under £100 million a train. So imagine they're going to be around for a long while. However, they've been built recently, not necessarily. Yeah, you need a smart meter to get that money, Toff. Very, very good. Welcome. Very good and accurate as well, because if you haven't got a smart meter, you can't do it. I have a pay-as-you-go thing, so I can't do it. Not that I would do anyway, because, to be honest, I only put the washing machine on like maximum usually once a week, unless there's some incident where clothes get a lot dirty a lot quicker. But yeah, you're absolutely right. So that was Monday. This is a lot tighter now than what it used to be. So we can now move on to Tuesday. Tuesday, ba 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 ba, looks good to me. Ba 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 ba. Tuesday. Is it? Yeah, it is Tuesday. Sorry, just looking at my arm then. I'm like, why is it looking like that? And it's fine. It's just my arm. Tragedies unfolding in Afghanistan. The Taliban have took over. They're basically abusing human rights as they normally do, but not in a Iranian way where they're executing people, at least not that we know of, but they are stopping the female population from working, going to university, school or anything like that. But also there's no money getting through to the people who need money, so there's a lot of poverty, and they're having one of the worst winters of their for many years. I mean, you always think of Afghanistan as being one of these places that's like permanently hot, but it's not. When it gets cold there, it gets cold. Sad news from Ukraine that Christopher Parry and Andrew Bagshaw were confirmed to have been killed in Ukraine after doing humanitarian work. They were basically trying to rescue people from war-ravaged areas, and unfortunately they've both been killed. Just horrendous when you're trying to do something to help people. The world, talking of Ukraine, the world is pushing the world is trying to push Germany to release Leopard tanks. Now, Leopard tanks, there's hundreds of them all over Europe in all different countries, but Germany have the right to say where those tanks are sent, i.e. No one can send Leopard tanks to Ukraine without the knowledge, without the agreement, of the German government. And on Tuesday, the German government had said, we're still thinking about it, and the rest of the world was like, come on, Britain's doing it, America's thinking about doing it with the M1 Abrams, so you've got to do it. But anyway, we'll have to wait and see. In the UK, businesses are struggling like mad. Through a third more businesses now say they are desperately struggling to survive. Not just retail, manufacturing, even some places that have offices are struggling to pay the electricity bills and everything. One group of people who weren't struggling to pay electricity bills, by the looks of things, were the criminals who had many 2 up 2 down houses in Nelson, which is in Lancashire near Burnley, set up as cannabis farms, illegal cannabis farms, because cannabis is illegal in the United Kingdom. They've made now over 70, oh no, there's been 70 houses found with this setup in them, in every room of the house. And they actually went round, they recognised it because the houses had different material on the windows, so you couldn't actually see what was going on inside, and also to keep the heat in as well. So they just drive around streets and then smash the door into a house that had that window, and they'd find another one. Anyway, arrests have been made, and hopefully the perpetrators will be put behind bars at some point soon, as long as they get found guilty. Normally they just get a slap on the wrist, don't they? Unfortunately, no one learns, do they, from that? Anyway, this brings us nicely to Wednesday. Now this is a sad story, but also moderately relevant as well. This cat here is called Paul Newman, and he went to a local Merseyrail train station for many years, over a decade, and basically became part of the furniture. He lived in a house nearby. He didn't live in the station, but he'd go there every day pretty much, and he gets lots of pets and everything from the passengers, and the staff would feed him, and it just became part of the furniture. Sadly, he passed away recently, and now there are calls to make a statue of him. And the reason why this is personable is because it reminds me of a Tesco cat in Staley Bridge. If you watch my weekly vlogs, about a month ago, you'll see for a few weeks a black and white cat, not dissimilar to Silence, my cat, was featured and referred to as Tesco cat, because it basically sat in the foyer and everyone petted it, and it sadly got run over in the car park. I don't think there's going to be a statue, but I can see how these animals, when they've been around for a while, actually get into people's psyche, and I can't imagine, there's a lot of people use that and everyone donates £1. I dare say there'd be enough money to make a statue of the cat, and a very majestic cat it was as well, and it was called Paul Newman, which reminded me that when I was a kid, I used to do babysitting for one of my neighbours, and they had a tropical fish tank, and they said to me, do you want to come and help choose some fish? And I went, well, not really. Oh, go on, we'll let you pick one for yourself. And I'm like, well, I don't have a fish tank. No, put it in yours. I was a bit thick when I was a kid. So I went and I found this fish, and it was all black, but it had orange fins either side, orange fin at the back, and an orange dorsal fin. But it looked a little bit like a shark, and it was the 80s, so I named it Fergal Sharky, because it looked like a shark, and Fergal Sharky was #1 at the time in the charts. Sadly, it ate most of their fish, and then it mysteriously disappeared. every cloud has a silver story. Germany overnight finally decided that they were going to release 14 of their Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine, and other countries that have Leopard tanks were allowed to send some as well. Obviously they're not going to go there straight away, because people need to be trained how to use them, because they are a lot more modern than the tanks which are Soviet era that the Ukrainians are currently using. Biden also said that he's going to send some 31 Abrams tanks over as well, which means that things are looking up, although the Abrams tanks may not arrive for about 12 months, which is not good, because again, training, and you have to ship them over from America, and that's quite a trek. Russia, understandably, was not happy about this, and said that this whole thing is a blatant provocation of the war, and obviously, I mean, I would think that the actual invasion was a provocation. But what do I know? I know nothing. Meanwhile, at PMQs in the House of Commons, Rishi Sunak defended the non-sacking of various members of his cabinet, and Keir Starmer says the PM is hopelessly weak, and Keir says, yeah, the PM is hopelessly weak, and Rishi said, we've got to wait for due process to take place when there's an inquiry, which I think is weak, to be fair. But we'll have to wait and see how that pans out. But I don't think it's going to be good for anyone. It never is it? Let's be honest. Following the tragedy at Christmas, Ellie Edwards was laid to rest this week in pretty horrendous weather. People have been arrested. In fact, another man got arrested for helping a criminal. So again, hopefully justice will be served at some point. Meanwhile, Amazon workers were on strike round about Coventry area. They've joined a union called GMB, but Amazon don't recognise unions, so that's a bit awkward. And they have said that the robots that work there get treated better than what the staff do. They're on minimum wage, and they are basically monitored the entire time they're in the building. When they go to the toilet, how long they go to the toilet for, how much stuff they pick, how far they move within the building, whether or not they go the right way to go to somewhere, or whether they're too long next to each other, i.e. talking to each other. They're completely monitored, and they've had enough, so they went out on strike. But like I say, Amazon don't actually recognise unions, so it's going to be an interesting one to see how that one pans out. Meanwhile, Donald J. Trump, everyone's favourite arsehole, after obviously Putin and Biden, has got his Meta accounts back. He's now allowed back on Instagram and Facebook, and I assume YouTube as well. No, YouTube isn't them. YouTube's Google, isn't it? But yeah, he's been reinstated after the alleged incitement of rioting that went on January the 6th a couple of years ago. Again, we wait to see whether or not he actually uses it, because he's got his own one now that no one's ever heard of. And we will see, like I say, how it pans out. Anyway, he's back. He's making the internet great again. Probably by keeping his gob shut. Meanwhile, Nicola Sturgeon has been under fire because, that picture there, I've just noticed something I've not noticed before with that picture. The one on the right I'm on about. Basically, the small picture in the middle is a picture of a gentleman who raped either one person twice or two people individually, and was caught and was then put up for trial. But whilst he was waiting for his trial, he transitioned to become a lady. But you can obviously tell he's not had the operation yet. And he got put into an all-women's prison, and he assumed that he was going to be in an all-women's prison, but there was a massive uproar about this, because A, the crime was committed against women, B, he still got the bits that he committed the crime with, and C, he only transitioned after he'd been caught. And his ex-girlfriend said he did it because he thought if he transitions to be a woman, he'll get a lighter sentence, or if he does go to prison, he won't go in for as long, and it'll be easier in a woman's prison than it would be in a man's prison. Unfortunately for him, he's now been put in a man's prison, which is right. If you commit a crime as a man, then you get done as a man. But it highlights what I've been going on about before, about people taking advantage of the situation. Now, I'm not saying he's took advantage of the law that's just recently changed, because that's changed within 6 months. In fact, it was only a couple of months ago, or even a few weeks ago, when the law changed, when you can transition from a man to a woman or a woman to a man without any medical checks, without any psychological checks, and you only have to live as the sex you want to become for 6 months instead of 2 years. And I said this has opened up for perverts to go into places where women are allowed, but only women are allowed. For example, changing rooms, and I didn't think of, but prisons and things like that. Now, if you're genuinely doing it, and you genuinely get done for something that you've done whilst either transitioning or after transition, and it's not sexually related, then I don't see a problem if you're going into a female prison. But obviously keep an eye on you and all that kind of stuff. But the fact that Sturgeon and her cronies have made it so easy for people to transition without all these tests and psychological tests and without anything, and within 6 months is opening up a can of worms where people will take advantage of it. If you're a pervert and you think, if you pretend to be a woman for 6 months, you can then access and perv on all these women in various different places, like gyms or even changing rooms in department stores or whatever, or swimming baths and things like that, then I don't see how it's right that you can do that. So yeah, Nicola Sturgeon has absolutely been embarrassed beyond belief. But of course, it's Nicola Sturgeon. She doesn't get embarrassed. She just thinks she's right about everything. But it will be interesting to see as time goes on if any other thing pops up along this line. It pops up, and I'm looking at that groin again. Oh dear. But yeah, it's shocking that they can't see what, you know, it's blatantly obvious. I mean, obviously, if you're a woman trapped in a man's body and vice versa, then you know you'd go through all the checks to make sure that it's not just, you know, a quirk thing that you're doing, it's genuine and all that, and then you would transition. And you know, I know people who've done it. Not personally. I know I've worked with, well, not worked with people, but I've been at places where people have transitioned, and it's a bit strange at first, but it's not totally weird. What is weird is if you do it in 6 months and then you are classed as a female. And it's going to be more men transitioning into women rather than women transitioning into men. Because let's be honest, who wants to go into a changing room and see lots of willies flapping around? It's, you know, it's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it's just peculiar that Sturgeon and her cronies, like I say, have decided that this is a good idea, because it's not. Meanwhile, the cabinet, or many cabinet members, met at Chequers to talk about tax issues, the BBC, and various other things as well, including levelling up apparently. But nothing else came out of it, and no one's been fired yet. We're still waiting for that. Rumours were abounding that HS2 was going to be not scrapped, but certainly reduced in length. They were misses. So that the track, or the HS2 speed link, would not get to London city centre, which is like the most important part of the whole thing. I mean, if they only built it from London to Birmingham, it'd be better than building it from Manchester Piccadilly to Old Oak Common, where then you'd have to get off that train and get on another train to go into London. And I wouldn't mind, but they demolished half of London next to St Pancras, haven't they, somewhere? Oh no, it's next to Euston, isn't it? They've demolished a huge area, and they're starting to build the station for HS2 to arrive at. So it just seemed bonkers. But rumours, you know what rumours are. Rumours are rumours. So the government didn't deny it on Thursday, but they did have a meeting and discuss it. Meanwhile, up north, TransPennine Express admit that their service is not good. 45% were cancelled of journeys, of their timetable. 45% was cancelled last week, and 18,000 trains were cancelled in the last year, and it's getting worse, not better. And they're saying, well, it's poor staff, poorly staffed, and staff not working overtime, and all this kind of stuff. But there's just no excuse for it. I mean, I don't use the trains, but you know, I have used the trains, and you rely on them. When you finish work, you want to get home. When you get up in the morning, you want to get to work. Well, you don't want to get to work, but you need to get to work. And if you can't do because the trains are not running properly, then something needs sorting. Following Everton's lead, Wigan Athletic sacked their manager after 9 games in charge with no wins. Mind you, to be fair, he had no experience. So you basically get what you sow, don't you, in that case? It was a weird appointment to begin with. They got rid of Liam Richardson, who had done really well for Wigan. They not really put a lot of money in during the transfer window, and we got up from Division 1 to Championship. So what do you expect if you don't change the team? There's going to be issues, and there were a lot of issues. So yeah, it's very sad that he's gone, but I think it was needed. because it just, I don't know, you've got to be good at your job, haven't you? Although I always think the managers get a hard treatment. You know, your football team plays crap, you get fired, and I always think that's a bit rotten. But then again, sometimes I think it's the right thing to do. Oh, I sound like a politician. It's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. Then we get to Friday. Friday, bum, 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 bum. Friday. What happened on Friday? Well, quite a lot, to be fair. And not all of it good. In fact, very little of it good. 7 dead in Jerusalem, in a synagogue, which again is horrendous. The crime in Israel and Palestine and the Gaza Strip and the arguments that go on, but there doesn't seem to be any way of settling this. It was on Holocaust Remembrance Day as well, which makes it 100 million times worse. Not that it's not worse, if you know what I mean, but yeah, it just seems to be ramping up at the moment in that part of the world, and hopefully people will, well, yeah, I don't know. I don't think they will. I think it'll just go on forever. Religion, eh? Meanwhile, the hospital, where is it called? The Nottingham Hospital Company people got fined. What was it? £800,000. Yeah, Nottingham University Trust was fined £800,000 for the lack of treatment for a newborn baby who only survived for 28 minutes and would have survived for longer had it have had some treatment, i.e. it would have lived. So they were fined £800,000, which is the highest fine ever given to a hospital trust. Meanwhile, everyone's favourite personality, Jeremy Where's My Personality Hunt, came up with a speech, and he basically said that we're not having tax cuts, but we're halving inflation and concentrating on getting big tech companies to come here, including advanced AI and things like that. So basically we're trying to make ourselves into the capital of the world for tech, which, to be fair, sounds good. I still think hydrogen, green hydrogen, let's get that sorted out, cost-effective green hydrogen, and then just sell it to the world, and we'll become as rich as the Arabs. Not all of us, obviously, but it was my idea, so I should get at least 1/4% of all profits made by any company. But yeah, half inflation, grow the economy, reduce debt, cut waiting times and stop the boats, which is basically exactly the same as what Rishi Sunak said a few weeks ago. So it was like the most pointless speech ever, with someone who's got the personality of, well, yeah. A toilet has tragically taken the life of a workman who was working on the toilet at the time. Basically, these urinals are, I mean, I can't get my head around them. I've never seen them before. I've been to London, but I've ever seen one. I think I would remember seeing one of these. Anyway, tragically, a workman was killed by one of these. He got somehow trapped underground with it, because it kind of goes up and down, which I don't understand why it would do that. And the fire brigade tried to rescue him by lifting the toilet off the top of him, but sadly he passed away on the scene. But then I'm like, I don't understand how. I mean, I wouldn't stand there and have a wee at one of them things if it's that open and exposed. But I can't see anything that spins round to kind of lock you in there. So that must be what they are. They're just a urinal on the street. Which reminds you of the old Parisian, not that they've ever been, what they call pisseries, which were basically toilets for men, and you just kind of walked in, but you kind of walked in like a snail shell kind of semicircle. So once you got through the door and round the corner, no one could see you from the street. And then on the inside of it, there'd be the urinal, so then you'd have your pee, and then you'd come back out again, but no one would see you having your pee. But with that, I don't know. I'm intrigued. I mean, it's tragic that someone's lost their life, but I need to go to London and find one of these things, because I just can't get my head, missus, around using one, missus. Talking of missus, Sylvia Sims, a very famous actress, has died at the age of 89. She was in a lot of the old war movies as a bit of a blonde bimbo, but then she played many other characters as she went through her life, including, although I don't watch it and I don't remember seeing her in it, but in the last few years she played an elderly battle axe woman in EastEnders, apparently. But anyway, I don't know, because I have to say I don't watch EastEnders. Meanwhile, in Glossop in Derbyshire, which is not far from where my mother lives, a teenager has been jailed for 11 years for posting videos which are homophobic and racist, and have been quoted by terrorists shooters in America on 2 occasions for the reason why they did it. He basically posted hate videos on his YouTube channel and other areas, and people watched them and acted on them. Only 2, but many people died. Again, I don't understand how it would work. Pretty sure I met him once, but he couldn't look me in the eye, has to be said. Meanwhile, it turns out, good news folks, HS2 is going to go all the way to London, Euston, or wherever it's going, in London, mainly because that's what they're already at. They've already built off of it. So yeah, good news, HS2 is saved. Use the term saved loosely, bit like a bad goal, which would be saved. Well, it wouldn't be saved, would it? Because that'd be a good save. Anyway, that brings us up to today, which, ladies and gentlemen, is Saturday. And again, another tragedy in Jerusalem, this time perpetrated by a 13-year-old boy who shot at and wounded 2 people, a man and a son. He was then shot himself and wounded and arrested and taken to hospital. But a 13-year-old getting involved in the violence in Jerusalem, I mean, that's what I mean. You can't see any end to it. It's just going to go on forever, sadly, because of the hatred that everyone has. And it's just horrible. After the shooting yesterday, on the Friday, then there were 40 arrests made overnight of various people accused of helping the gunman and and hiding and evidence and all that kind of stuff. So we will have to, like I say, wait and see what happens. Meanwhile, in America, body cam footage was released of the assault and eventual murder of a black motorist who was dragged out of his car by 5 black police officers, roughly handled, got away from them, was then tasered and then repeatedly kicked in the head, and passed away 3 days later in hospital. You can't imagine what the family are going through. And unusually, all the officers involved were black, and they have all been fired by the police, and they are all under arrest for murder and homicide. And today, 2 more deputies have also been suspended from the jobs because they turned up at the scene and didn't offer any help, although they weren't involved directly with the abuse that went on and the assault that went on. Just horrible. I mean, the police in America, sort your police out as well. Meanwhile, in the UK, another tragedy, teenagers. 15-year-old girls died from stab wounds, and a 16-year-old boy was injured with stab wounds in Hexham, which is in Northumbria, which is up the northeast of the United Kingdom. Well, more UK, it's not in Scotland, but it's near the border. Again, a horrendous incident. The 16-year-old boy has been arrested and charged with murder. And then Flybe, which is a budget airline in the UK, have gone into administration again. It's not the first time they've been in administration, but this time all flights have been cancelled and all the staff pretty much have been made redundant. So it looks like there are one less air passenger company going. They were only a fairly small company, but still, they did run routes which other companies wouldn't run because they were non-profitable, which is probably why Flybe have ended up in the position they're in. Wigan have hired a new manager, Wigan Athletic, the Ticks, and he's Mr. Maloney. Now, he was a player many years ago, and kind of hope that he can save Wigan from being relegated from the Championship back into League One, but breath is not being held because I think it's probably too far gone now and we're too near the end of the season. Having said that, we did have that break for the World Cup, so maybe the end of the season is a little bit further away than what I think it is, so there might be a chance. Anyway, finally on this section, another bit of more fun news, shall we say. A 74-year-old man plays Pokemon Go on 64 phones. So Pokemon Go, and he's got 64 phones that he attaches to his bike, and he rides around Japan, and he plays Pokemon Go. And it's like, that's insane, but it's also genius as well. He's called Shen Xiaoyan, a Taiwanese grandfather, Taiwan, and he was introduced to the game in 2016 by his grandson. By 2018 he had already upgraded his setup to 8 phones and became a local celebrity known as the Pokemon Go Grandpa. He says that he doesn't participate in battles since he has an unfair advantage. He just wants to catch rare Pokemon. It's an unfair advantage. I don't know. But yeah, that's some happy news to end on this section. And then, of course, we will go to America. You're all being very quiet today, so I'm just wondering if you're all okay. I always get worried when people are quiet. It generally means that something's wrong, usually with my setup, but we wait with bated breath. I shall test it and see. No, it's just very quiet. To be fair, it's very quiet anyway, isn't it? We only had 13 people on, so that probably explains it, because not everyone talks when we're doing this. Right then, so, meanwhile, in America. La 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 America. What will you see in America? Don't you want to see in America? La 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 America. What's been going on in America? Oh, hang on a minute. Oh no, it's alright. No, it's not. Is it? No, hang on. News. Go back there. Oh yeah, that's the other one. It's not American, but Sean Dyche has been possibly linked to the Everton job. Right, there you go. So let's go back to what we were doing, because we're going to America. Yes, we're going to America. We are going to America. Can't find America. Where's America gone? There it is. There it is. America's back. I'm just sat here listening. No, you're all right, Toff. Don't worry about it. We don't only have Annie and a few other people in as well, but they might be all big clubbing tonight. You never know. I know there's a load of seals coming to town, so they might have gone out clubbing. Vladimir Zelensky honours 14 killed in the helicopter crash in Ukraine. If you remember last week, there was a helicopter crash that killed 14 people in Ukraine. It was thought to be mechanical issues with the helicopter, although initially it was thought that it might have been brought down by a Soviet missile. But Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky held a somber meeting with family members of some of the victims of a deadly helicopter crash that killed 14 people on Wednesday last week, including the country's interior minister. Zelensky reportedly spoke with relatives of 7 of those killed in the crash in the Bolvary area of Kiev during a memorial service held on Saturday. But yeah, it's tragedy, but to be fair, it could have happened at any time. Meanwhile, the Hong Kong Bunny Resort is fully booked for the Year of the Rabbit. Business is booming at a luxury bunny resort in Hong Kong as China rings in the Year of the Rabbit on Sunday. Yeah, this is a real story. This is true. Where are we? Bunny Style, a place where rabbits are pampered with parties, spa treatments, exercise and countless carrots, is completely booked for the Lunar New Year. Owner Donnelly Tuff told us, "I think rabbits understand what people say," Lee told the outlet, "and so when I looked after them, I talked to them a lot, telling them how beautiful and cute they are." The fee to board is around $15 a night, which includes bed and breakfast. Bed and breakfast. I thought I saw a rabbit. Yeah, I did. A Florida man shoots terminally ill husband at hospital. A Florida woman, shoots terminally ill husband at hospital and refuses to leave his room. A Florida woman shot her terminally ill husband at a Daytona Beach hospital on Saturday and then refused to leave his room, according to the police. The shooting took place where Daytona Beach police said they were negotiating with the woman to get her to surrender. Patients and staff surrounding the room were evacuated. The police said they did not suspect anyone else in the crime. But yeah, it's horrible when people are terminally ill. What's going on? Europe breaks all-time hail records after a barrage of winter storms. So not only is it the warmest year on record for Europe, but it's also the hailiest, if that's even a thing. When severe storm enthusiasts think of hailstorms, Oklahoma and Kansas come to mind. But in 2022, the United States tally was dwarfed by reports of frozen precipitation from across Europe, with the continent seeing record-breaking events. The European Severe Storms Laboratory, I didn't know that was a thing, said there were 8,244 large hail reports in 2022, which overshot the 2021's record by nearly 2,800, but that means we've had 2 records in 2 years, which is not a good sign, let's be honest. Virginia boy who shot teacher told another he wanted to set her on fire. I mean, this is one mixed up child, and you got to think, what have his parents been up to? Not only do they not allow him, but give him access to take a loaded pistol out of their house in his school bag to school, but he's also got these thoughts going through his head as well. A 6-year-old who shot his teacher allegedly told another educator he wanted to light her on fire and watch her die, according to a report. The troubled boy nearly made good on his apparent murderous impulses, shooting the first-grade teacher at Renix Elementary School in Newport. She survived, but she has got possibly life-changing injuries. Chase ATMs in New York City closing early over rising crime and vagrancy. Crime is making it a lot harder to get cash in the Big Apple. You can bank on it. Chase Bank, the one that's advertised by that guy who's very slow at eating his pie and mash in the pub, is locking up multiple around-the-clock ATMs early due to rising crime. We decided to close several ATM vestibules at either 5 PM or 6 PM, aligning with the hours of service that is the normal branch hours, due to rising crime and vagrancy that occurs. These previously 24/7 vestibules are becoming a target for criminals and also for people who are sleeping rough to sneak into when someone comes out of there. The only time I've ever seen one, although I think I might have been in one in Manchester or somewhere at some point, where you put your card in and it opens the door and you get in, and then the door closes behind you and you're in a secure area, but there's only one way out, and I think that might be what the problem is. You can't run a left or right, you've got to go through the door. But either way, the only time I've really seen one was on Friends back in the day, when I think they actually got locked in there with a celebrity, if I remember rightly, but I can't remember who it was or anything. But anyway, yeah, these vestibules are now closing when the branches close, which, to be fair, seems to make sense. And even though I like cash, it's not necessary that you have it all the time, is it, these days? What to expect from Russia and Putin in the Ukraine war in 2023, says the Post. On Wednesday, Russian Vladimir Putin declared that Russia intends to end hostilities in Ukraine. Putin is all spin and the war is almost certain to continue. As the war drags on, Putin's hand will continue to be felt across Ukraine and quite possibly the world. By now, Putin realises that Ukraine is not about to capitulate. To the contrary, Zelensky is securing steady stream of Western arms and now tanks. So yeah, this war is going to go on and on and on. And hopefully it will get sorted and as few people as possible will die. Drill rapper Lil Malbu is a model student at a rich prep school. He's a straight out of private school, not Compton. Little Mabu, a drill rapper who has amassed 2.6 million followers by dropping beats about fighting cops, knocking over jewellery stores and sleeping with bitches, is actually a silver spoon child of a privilege. He is a senior at Collegiate School. The nearly 400-year-old Manhattan prep school costs $60,000 a year and has schooled generations of Vanderbilts and Kennedys. The 17-year-old rapper's name is Matthew Peter DeLuca and he lives in his parents' 5-bed mansion. Yeah, so you're trying to be hip and down on the streets, but you're actually a poor little rich kid, which is always amusing when that happens. Overnight, New York City gunplay and stabbings leave 1 dead and 5 injured. America, sort your fucking gun laws out. A 19-year-old man was killed in a shooting outside the Queens nightclub that also left a 31-year-old woman injured. The deadly Saturday morning gunfire was the latest incident in overnight mayhem across the city, which also left 2 others shot in Harlem and 2 men stabbed in Midtown. Bullets flew outside the Amadeus nightclub on Albion Avenue near Queens Boulevard at 4 a.m. But New York City cabbie is still cruising the streets at 89. This cabbie has gone the extra mile, probably a million mile. Frank Trolley, 89, still had his foot on the gas of a yellow cab 6 days a week after more than 62 years behind the wheel. I'm one of the originals. The homegrown hack who grew up in Ridgewood boasted to the Post during an exclusive tour this week in his Nissan MV200 as he carefully snaked through traffic in Midtown to Astoria. When I start talking, passengers go, "Oh, you're a New Yorker. How long have you been driving?" So I tell them. Yeah, I mean, that's impressive. 89 and still cabbying. And fair play to him. He's not being a burden on society. Police respond to reported shooting in Los Angeles area city. This is Monterey Park, Calif. Dozens of police officers responded to reports of a shooting that occurred at a large Lunar New Year celebration in a community of East Los Angeles late Saturdays. Officials at the time provided no information about the shooting, but we all know what went on there because 2 people were killed and 4 others were wounded in a separate shootings in the Bronx and Brooklyn on Saturday night. A 30-year-old man was shot in the torso and a 28-year-old man was shot in the right shoulder. Cops said both victims were privately transported to Mount Sinai Hospital where the 30-year-old victim was pronounced dead according to the police. The 28-year-old, whom police described as highly uncooperative, is recovering slowly. Utah plastic surgeons sold fake vax cards for cash. Now, some places you had to have a vaccination card to get in and whatever, and yeah, a Utah plastic surgeon took bribes from anti-vax parents to dole out fake COVID-19 jabs while destroying tens of thousands of dollars worth of the real medicine. Dr. Michael Kirkmore, a junior, is allegedly injected some children with saline shots before sending them off with fake vaccination cards. Utah's U.S. State Attorney's Office said Moore was indicted by a grand jury last week, along with 2 of his staffers and a neighbour who allegedly helped carry out the plot. The plot thickens. Teen shot on city bus in the Bronx. A teenager was shot on a city bus in the Bronx on Saturday, according to police. The shooting happened aboard a BX5 bus near Metcalfe in Southview shortly before 6 p.m. According to police and sources, the teen suffered non-threatening injuries and was listed in stable condition. It's not clear what led to the shooting or if any suspects are in custody. America. So, yep, King Gun laws out. Brazil's President Lula fires army chief 1 month into term. Brazil's President Lula fired his army chief Saturday in the wake of attacks on the presidential palace earlier this month. Lula da Silva fired Julio Cesar de Ara less than a month after he was sworn as head of military by his predecessor. De Ara was sworn in. Deandra was sworn in on December the 30th by Bolsonaro before de Silva's inauguration earlier this month. Bolsonaro left Brazil for Florida and is still apparently in hospital. Not that anyone really cares. American news, but a slightly different angle. Strike at Berlin airport to ground flights on Wednesday, operator says. Yes, people say Britain's in a right mess, blah, 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 blah. But no, it's happening all over the world. Calm yourselves down. It's a world issue. Right, back to the tragedy at Monterey. Monterey gunman thought dance instructors said evil things about him. The gunman, who slaughtered 10 people at a California dance club before killing himself, had been a regular patron at the venue and had believed that the instructor said evil things about him. Hugh Can Tran, 72, opened fire at the Star Ballroom Dance Studio in Monterey Park late Saturday with a semi-automatic pistol, killing 10 people and wounding at least 10 others before storming the rival Lala Ballroom, where 2 men took the gun off him and he fled, and then he was caught in the van and he shot himself. Attacks against Catholic churches approaches 300 incidents since May 2020. Hundreds of Roman Catholic churches have been attacked since the violence that erupted nationwide following George Floyd's death in May 2020, according to a Catholic non-profit. Since May 2020, there have been nearly 300 attacks against US Catholic churches as far afield as Emahock, Alaska, with the most recently tallied 275 as of Sunday. So yeah, people are smashing Roman Catholic schools up, churches up. Now I can see them doing it for abuses to boys in particular, but I can't see what it's got to do with George Floyd. As awful as that was, I don't think it was anything to do with the Catholic Church. Chinese military vessels and aircraft approach Taiwan space, Defence Ministry says. Catholic Church non-profit. Yes, I thought that as well, but I didn't say anything. Chinese military vessels and aircraft were detected around Taiwanese waters and airspace on Monday morning, according to defence officials, as tensions continue to grow between the two nations. Taiwan's Ministry of Defence tweeted that 9 aircraft from the People's Liberation Army, or PLA, and 4 vessels from the People's Liberation Army Navy, or PLAN, were detected at 6 a.m. That's definitely simmering, and I think it's going to boil over at some point, more so with the news later on. 12 people injured, 1 critical, in a targeted shooting at a Louisiana nightclub. In Baton Rouge, a dozen people were injured at Baton Rouge nightclub shooting, authorities in Louisiana said on Sunday. One of the victims was in critical condition. No arrests have been made, but police believe the early morning attack was targeted. This was not a random act of violence placed on the preliminary investigation efforts, Baton Rouge Police Chief Murphy Paul said. Yeah, America, sort your gun laws out. Too many people have got too many guns. Now, I thought this was a story about a certain BBC broadcaster, looking at the picture, only glancing at it. One who's currently off work, injured, and is a bit of an idiot, and has got a wife who advertises Vitalift things. But anyway, right, Revitalift. Anyway, yeah, it's not it. A top Russian official warns of global tragedy if allies send Ukraine new weapons. A leading official in Russia's parliament is warning of global tragedy if Ukraine gets new weapons from allies as the bitter fight between the two nations nears the 11-month mark. The Speaker of the State of Duma, Russia's lower house of the country's parliament, issued the ominous message on Sunday following the allies of Kiev pledging to provide more armoured vehicles, air defence systems and other equipment. Now the problem is, when Putin doesn't get his own way, he kicks off, doesn't he? And there's been a lot more strikes going on in Kiev and Ukraine because of the promise of more tanks, but that's just what it's going to be like, unfortunately. A pig appears to have got the ultimate revenge at a Hong Kong slaughterhouse, knocking over and killing a butcher with the cleaver about to be used on him. Police told CNN that the pig had been shot with an electric stun gun at Shuang Shu slaughterhouse on Friday when it suddenly woke and pounced on a 61-year-old worker. The swine knocked over the would-be slaughterer, who seemingly dropped his 15-inch cleaver onto his foot, and he bled to death, basically. Horrendous, but you've got to think good on the pig, although we don't know whether the pig actually survived or not. Probably wouldn't have, because it was a man-killer then, wasn't it? So, elderly woman killed terminally ill husband as part of a botched suicide pact, say the cops. Now remember earlier we were talking about the woman who killed her husband who was terminally ill. The fatal shooting of a terminally ill man in Florida was part of a failed murder-suicide pact with his wife. Ellen Gilland is accused of gunning down her bedridden husband, Jerry, at Advent Health Hospital in Daytona Beach at 11:30 am on Saturday, before she was arrested. According to investigators, the Gillands had made a pact to carry out a murder-suicide if Jerry's health continued to deteriorate. And I can see where they're coming from, but yeah, America, gun laws, please. Millions in northeast, face messy commute. Upstate New York regions forecast a foot of snow. Now remember, before we were talking previous broadcasts, we've been talking about New Yorkers complaining that there is no snow. Well, millions of people in the northeast and along the 195 corridor are being asked to take it slow on the roads on Monday morning as winter storm continues to bring rain and snow to the region. The storm began on Sunday, and by Monday morning snow was reported across the interior of northeast and northern New England, while rain fell in southern New England and along the I-95 corridor through New York City and points in between. But yeah, be careful what you wish for. We might be getting the beast from the east too, as well. Andrew Tate. Cockroaches, lice and bedbugs are my only friends. Well, yep, you're about right, because they have no brains. So they will listen to you and they will think, oh, this is, well, we don't know, we've got no brains. He claims his prison cell is being bugged. Controversial influencer Andrew Tate, who is currently jailed in Romania over sex trafficking allegations, is complaining about the alleged squalid conditions in his prison cell, which he claims is dark and infested with cockroaches and lice. The imprisoned ex-kickboxer aired his complaints in an email to fans after a Romanian court recently ruled he will remain in custody until the end of February. But I don't know how you could email. I don't know how you can email from a prison. But anyway, that's just me. Pulse-pounding moment, hero seen grabbing Monterey mass shooter's gun. So this is our mass murderer who already killed in one venue at a second venue. Astonished surveillance images show the moment a brave Good Samaritan tackled California dance club mass shooter Hugh Can Tran, grabbing his semi-automatic assault pistol even though he was certain he was about to die. Brandon Say, 26, was seen brawling with a 72-year-old shooter as he buffed into the La La ballroom and studio after already shooting dead 10 people earlier, which he wouldn't known about, to be fair, or he might, I don't know. 2 students killed and a teacher injured in a shooting at Des Moines Charter School, police say. About 20 minutes after the shooting, officers stopped a car about 2 miles away and took multiple suspects into custody. How many kids, America, are you going to let die through gun crime? I'm just asking as a concerned grandparent. Oh, talking of children, a 4-year-old, this is UK news, but it didn't really, I didn't have room to write it in my book. Look, it's full. A 4-year-old becomes UK's youngest Mensa member. This 4-year-old British boy puts us all to shame. High-achieving Teddy Hobbs has become the UK's youngest member of Mensa after he taught himself to read as a toddler and can count to 100 in 7 languages. The Brainy boy's mum, Beth Hobbs of Portishead, North Somerset, said he learned to read when he was just 26 months old by watching children's television and copying the sounds of letters. He started tracing letters, so when we sent him to nursery he could already write his name, which is impressive. But yeah, he was interviewed, well, I use the term interviewed loosely, but he was shown on TV, and pretentious. A plane clips a truck, crashes and bursts into flames on a Texas road. A small plane crashed and burst into flames on a Texas road after clipping an 18-wheeler transporting mattresses. It should have landed on the trailer because that would be a soft landing, wouldn't it? But the pilot miraculously escaped unharmed, authorities said. The heart-pounding incident happened around 11:15 a.m. on Sunday when the pilot reported losing engine power while flying a survey assignment from the West Houston airport. The aviator attempted to land on the freeway, but unfortunately clipped a vehicle. There were no injuries in the vehicle, and he walked away from the crash too, which was a miracle. A Florida woman told cops crack pipe was a sex toy. It depends what you mean by crack, I suppose. That's one way to get your rocks off, they say. A Florida woman claimed a crack pipe found protruding from her foo-foo during a strip search was actually a sex toy. Camilla Ann Maines, 57, was taken into custody on Wednesday in Clearwater after she failed to show up at court to face shoplifting charges, according to court records. Camilla Ann Maines was allegedly concealing a crack pipe in her foo-foo front bottom, police said. And she said it was a sex toy. To be fair, if it was lit, it probably would be. No, maybe not. Just me. No, not me. Not me. Definitely not me. No. There we go. Alec Baldwin will remain in lead role of Rust despite being charged. I mean, this is so many types of wrong. I mean, they've not scrapped filming out of respect for the poor woman who died. They've gone back and they've started refilming again, or they're about to start refilming again, like 2 years after she was murdered. Killed. Freudian slip there. Allegedly murdered. Alec Baldwin will remain a star of the movie Rust as it restarts production. The movie's lawyers have confirmed. The 64-year-old actor will be charged with involuntary manslaughter in the 2021 death of Helena Hutchins, despite previously insisting he did not pull the trigger. Hutchins's widow, Matt, who shared his 10-year-old son Andros with the late cinematographer, will stay on as the film's executive producer. I mean, how many wrongs is there in this? Oh, it's next door. Teen shot on. Oh yeah, a teenager in City Bros. We've done that one, haven't we? Yeah, we've done that one. Sorry, my fault. I got completely sidetracked by someone. California Democrats consider wealth tax, including for people who've moved out of the state, which I think is genius. California lawmakers are pushing legislation that would impose new tax on the state's wealthiest residents, even if they've already moved to another part of the country. Assemblyman Alex Lee, a progressive Democrat, last week introduced a bill at the California State Legislature that would impose an extra annual 1.5% tax on those with worldwide net worth above $1 billion, starting as early as January 2024. And I think if you've got $1 billion, I don't think you're going to know it's 1% extra tax, whereas that 1% extra tax will make a lot of difference to a lot of people who are a lot poorer than you. Grand Central's LIRR terminal is finally open Wednesday with limited shuttle service. Now, we've been going on about Crossrail in London for a long while, and the delays in that, and the fact it cost so much more money than it was meant to cost, and I don't think it's still running all the way through yet, but certainly the majority of it is running, or it may already be all running. But either way, it only really opened last year, or maybe the year before, but maybe 18 months ago, something like that. But it's the same in America. Like I say, it's the same all over the world. Everyone's screwed. The long-delayed Long Island Railroad Terminal beneath Grand Central will finally open on Wednesday, albeit as part of a soft launch with limited service. After 15 years of construction on the $11.6 billion transit hub, the MTA will offer some shuttle services between Jamaica, Queens and the new LIRR terminal as the agency slowly rolls out the commuter line. It's not Jamaica, it's a district in the state that's called Jamaica. I mean, 15 billion for an underground train from New York to Jamaica, I think would be good value, I'll be honest with you. But no, it's not that. It's not that. Biden to toot Hudson River Tunnel Project. Biden to tout Hudson River Tunnel Project infrastructure law in New York City next week. President Biden will travel to New York City next week to discuss the impacts of the 1.2 trillion infrastructure package he signed into law in November 2021. According to the White House, the 80-year-old president will arrive in the Big Apple next Tuesday after a stop in Baltimore, Maryland on Monday to tout the massive infrastructure package that passed Congress with bipartisan support. $1.2 trillion. I mean, wow. And that's for a tunnel under the Hudson. Wow. 7 dead in 2 shootings in California agricultural region. Suspect arrested. 7 people were fatally shot at a farm and another business in California's Half Moon Bay on Monday. A suspect later turned himself into authorities, according to reports. The victims were killed in the shootings at Mountain Mushroom Farm and Rice Trucking Soil Farm, a landscaping supply company in the small city along the Golden State's coast. America, sort your gun laws out. How many people have to die? Florida man dubbed pooping perpetrator sought by police over Joe Crab's shack break-in. Police in Florida are asking for the public's assistance in identifying a man they have dubbed the pooping perpetrator. It's a load of shit if you ask me. Around 2:30 a.m. on January the 21st, a man caught on surveillance video broke into Joe's Crab Shack in Fort Myers. Police say he allegedly climbed through a small window that he broke prior to stealing multiple items, including alcohol, and defecating on the floor prior to leaving. Now, we've all had emergency poops that we've needed to do, and I suppose when you got to go, but doing it in the middle of leaving DNA. I mean, let's be honest, your poo there's a lot of DNA in poo, so yeah, he'll get rounded up quick. 3 shot dead at Circle K in Yakima, Washington. Suspect at large. At least 3 people were killed in what police have called a random shooting that took place early on Tuesday morning at a convenience store in Yakima, Washington. The gunman, who police believe to be 21-year-old Jared Haddock, is still at large. It appears to be a random situation. There was no apparent conflict between the parties. Yakima police chief said in a video shared on the department's website. America. Yeah, you've got the idea. Have you got the idea yet? Yeah. 1 dead, 7 injured after gunfire rips during filming of a music video in America. America. Sort your gun laws out now. Stop people dying and getting injured for no reason. A shooter killed 1 person and injured 7 others during the filming of a music video in Oakland, California on Monday, marking the 3rd mass shooting to rock the state in 3 days. The gunfire erupted around 6 p.m. at the Valero gas station that was being used as a music video set. Witnesses told news station KTVU police found no victims when they arrived at the scene, but dozens of shell casings. Yeah. America. Listen. White House leaning towards sending Abrams tanks to Ukraine. America's main battle tank may be facing off against Russian armour soon. The Biden administration is seriously considering sending M1 Abrams tanks to the Ukrainian armed forces as part of the deal to break an impasse among Kyiv's Western allies. Yeah, more of that obviously later. Cough syrups may be linked to more than 300 child deaths, World Health Organization says. The WHO organisation is investigating the possible connection between contaminated cough syrups and over 300 children who died after using the spoiled medication last year. The investigation hopes to see whether the raw materials used to produce cough syrup by 6 manufacturers in India and Indonesia contained unacceptable levels of toxins and as a result caused the spate of tragic deaths. You buy medicine to fix your kids, don't you? Not to, horrible. Suspicious death of endangered vulture at a Dallas zoo prompts $10,000 reward. The Dallas Zoo is offering $10,000 reward for information about how one of its endangered vultures died under very suspicious circumstances. The lappet-faced vulture named Pin was around 35 years old and discovered dead in its habitat on Saturday morning with a wound to its body, the zoo said during a press conference. An animal autopsy confirmed the death was not natural, and police are looking into footage of the local CCTV in the area. Around a dozen classified documents found in Mike Pence's Indiana home. Around a dozen classified documents were found last week in the Indiana home of former Vice President Mike Pence. The report, which cited multiple sources familiar with the matter, that the FBI and Justice Department's National Security Division have launched a review of the documents, which a lawyer for Pence turned over to the FBI's, and how they ended up in the former Vice President's house is a mystery. Let's be honest, we all take stuff home from work and then we put it down and then we forget to take it back again. I think that's all they've done, because Trump's done it, Biden's done it, Pence has done it, and I dare say if they go to anyone's house who's been a president or a high up, they'll have documents that they probably shouldn't have as well. Top Zelensky aide, 9 others resign as Ukraine cracks down on corruption. A top aide to Ukraine President Vladimir Zelensky steps down on Tuesday along with several other high-ranking officials in a major personnel shake-up following corruption claims. The departure of officials including Deputy Prosecutor General, a Deputy Head of the President's Office, a Deputy Defence Minister and 5 regional governors followed an announcement by Zelensky on Monday that he had to make some personal difficult decisions about the people around him. Dog fatally shoots Kansas hunter in freak accident. I'm sure we've had a dog shooting someone before in a freak accident. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. A Kansas hunter was accidentally shot dead by a dog that stepped on a rifle in the back of the pickup they were in, according to officials. The victim was in the front passenger seat of the truck late on Saturday with a dog in the back with the hunting gear, including a rifle. A canine belonging to the owner of the pickup stepped on the rifle, causing the weapon to discharge. The fire round struck the driver of the vehicle and killed him instantly. I mean, that's nature getting its own back, isn't it? Russia slams blatant provocation as Germany promises tanks to Ukraine. So obviously we've caught up now with the news that the tanks are going. Germany confirmed on Wednesday that it was sending battle tanks to help Ukraine in the war, which Russia called a disastrous plan. It is for Russia, and was blatant provocation. No, it's not. The provocation is all started by you guys, led by the US Chancellor Chancellor Olaf Scholz announced that his government would provide Ukraine with one company of Leopard 2 A6 tanks, which comprises 14 vehicles from its own stocks. And Germany was acting in close cooperation with Poland over this, i.e. spare parts, training and all that kind of thing, because you need to be trained to use these things. A Florida woman rescued from storm drain for a 3rd time in less than 2 years. And you're like, what? A Florida woman was pulled from a storm drain for the 3rd time in 2 years last week. The Delray Beach Police Department said officers and firefighters responded to a report of a woman possibly in distress while swimming in a canal near the 500 block of Lindell Boulevard around noon on Wednesday. The department said officers located the woman, identified as Lindsay Kennedy, and asked if she needed help, and she did, and they took her out. And it was like, what are you doing? Do you not learn the first time? Second time? Third time lucky, maybe? Just leave her there next time. Strike over pay at Berlin airport grounds all flights. Berlin staff at Germany's BER airport in capital Berlin went on strike to press their pay demands on Wednesday, and the airport operator said all regular passenger flights were cancelled as a result. Around 300 takeoffs and landings with just under 35,000 passengers were originally planned for Wednesday. The union called on airport staff in ground services, aviation security and the airport company to strike in the wage dispute. The so-called one-day work stoppage was over what it said was growing difficulties with the cost of living crisis. Well, it's not called crisis over there, but basically that's what it is. Yay! Oh, yeah. Australian minister says Kanye West could be denied entry over anti-Semitic remarks. Sydney. American rappers Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, may not be suitable for an Australian visa because of his history of anti-Semitic remarks, a government minister said on Wednesday, as pressure mounting to deny the award-winning rapper entry. Minister for Education said Ye's awful anti-Semitic comments involving Hitler and the Holocaust were unacceptable and not the kind of people that we want in our country, summarising. I ran out of text then. It cut off a bit early, but never mind. You get the gist. All 11 Monterey Park mass shooting victims have been ID'd, i.e. another one passed away from the injuries sustained. All 11 victims of the horrific Monterey Park ballroom massacre have now been identified. The final 6 names of those fatally shot on Saturday night were released by Los Angeles County coroner. 10 or 11 people were pronounced dead at the scene, and another person died at hospital. But again, you know, it's just, we look at America, and you're like, why is this happening so much? How many gun crimes have we had in 30 minutes of me talking about stuff? Good evening, Marty Hopkirk. Arkansas bill seeks to classify drag shows in the same way as strip clubs. I mean, they're cracking down on TikTok, they're cracking down on drag shows, but they're still letting people walk around with guns and shoot people. Go figure. Wake up, America, sort your fucking laws out. Arkansas senators passed legalisation restricting where drag shows can be held, proposing to classify them in the same manner as strip clubs and adult theatres. I mean, come on. You know, we have drag queens for toddlers, don't we? They're called pantomime. The Ugly Sisters and all that. Oh, America. Get your priorities sorted. I really don't understand what's going on. I really don't. This is a Kansas man accidentally shot by dog, remembered as a lovable goofball. Well, yeah, if you put a loaded gun in the back of your car with a dog, you are a goofball. A man was shot by his dog in a tragic hunting accident, and he was identified as Kansas plumber Joseph Smith on Tuesday, as friends remembered the hunter as a loving goofball who made them smile. Smith, 30, was in the passenger seat of a pickup truck when the pooch stepped on the hunting rifle in the back seat. Smith was struck in the back and killed instantly. Well, hang on a minute. I thought he was in the driver's seat, and that means alone. But he was in the passenger seat, which means he wasn't driving, which means there was someone else driving. I'm not a conspiracist or anything. It's conspiracist, but that seems a little bit weird. Also, after the same thing happened a few months ago. So, oh yeah, we say the dog shot him. Heroic dad popped back hatch of sinking car to save daughters before he died. A father died after accidentally driving his car into a Michigan lake, but his final moments in the car as the car sank is believed to have popped open the car's hatch, allowing his young daughters to swim to safety. John Paul Dowler, 52, died early on Sunday morning after his car plunged into the frigid waters of Lake Matakawa in Ottawa County. Citing police, investigators believe Dowling's car lost control and went into the water, but if you popped the back hatch, then surely you could swim out as well. Again, I've got my conspiracy hat on. Anyway, moving on. Woman sues fireball maker Sazerac for selling whiskey flavoured alcohol. It may not be the real deal, but it was worth a shot. A woman is taking the Sazerac company, which makes alcoholic beverages including fireball whiskey, to court over what she claims is misleading packaging after discovering the many bottles of fireball cinnamon whiskey don't actually contain whiskey. Anna Marquez filed a lawsuit in Illinois after discovering the drink is actually a malt beverage. Always read the label. I mean, we have shandy, which is beer flavoured, isn't it? It doesn't have beer in it. No. Yeah, maybe it does. Accused Half Moon Bay mass shooter once tried to suffocate former co-worker with pillow. The accused Half Moon Bay shooter, who allegedly gunned down 7 farm workers in what authorities called a workplace violence rampage. They have names for these things. That's why it's even more scary. Oh yes, we'll put this down as a workplace violence rampage. Tick that box for it. I mean, America, just stop people killing people with guns by not letting people have guns if they're not sane. Years earlier, reportedly tried to suffocate a co-worker. Mass shooting suspect in 2023 was accused of trying to kill his roommate, angry that the man didn't have checks from a job that he'd quit days earlier, i.e. he hadn't brought his pay home for him, so the man tried to suffocate him in his sleep. Yeah, balanced kind of guy. Let's give him a gun. Well done, America. This is brilliant. Japanese Prime Minister aide scolded by his mum for having his hands in pockets after meeting President Biden. You can see him there in the background, and his mum's giving him a right bollocking. A top advisor to Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has apologised after his mother reprimanded him for putting his hands in his pockets after meeting President Biden earlier this month. Japan's Deputy Chief Cabinet Secretary, C.G. Kira, was caught on camera after his January the 13th visit to the White House with his hands in his pants pockets, staring off into space and seeming uninterested in what's going on around him. And his mum's really tore a strip off him. I think that's a brilliant story. She might be my hero of the week, I'll be honest with you. Migrants busted for shoplifting in New York won't be deported unless they're convicted. What? 4 migrants who were busted for allegedly shoplifting in a Long Island Macy's after being bused to the Big Apple from Texas won't face deportation unless they're convicted. Sources and legal experts said on Tuesday that the men who were charged with stealing more than $12,000 in merchandise from Macy's are getting a break because they are asylum seekers. There's no words, is there, for the way America is run? I mean, we think we're run badly, but my God. Philly needs lifeguards so bad they are reportedly hiring people who can't swim as lifeguards. If a lifeguard saves you in Philly, they may be wearing water wings. The city in such a desperate need for lifeguards for their municipal pools, they are willing to accept candidates that don't know how to swim. Officials say they will provide swimming lessons to applicants who are aquatic newbies. I think I'd sooner have no one there, I'll be honest. Assistant principal resigns at Virginia school where 6-year-old shot teacher. The assistant principal at the Virginia school where a 6-year-old shot his teacher has resigned as allegations surface that the administration failed to respond when they were worried about the armed students 3 times on the day of the shooting. Dr. Emily Parker, the assistant principal, resigned in the aftermath of the shooting. If they didn't act when they were told 3 times that a 6-year-old's got a loaded gun, then yeah, they don't deserve to have the job. Simple as. What a gas. New York PD to get high-tech new cop cars with green racing stripes. The New York PD's new cop car design is a full U-turn from its classic old cruiser. Big Apple cops will soon hit the road in high-tech new SUVs featuring 360-degree cameras, a flashy green racing style stripes. The city top cop said on Wednesday, the NYPD RMP is iconic. Police Commissioner Ketchum Sowell said, referring to the department's so-called radio motor patrol vehicles at the annual State of the NYPD address in New York. I mean, it does look cool, but how green is it? I mean, is it electric, or is it diesel, or is it hydrogen? That'd be really good if it was hydrogen. Connecticut breakfast cafe called Woke gets backlash for name. Now, I don't know why you'd call it woke, because woke's not cool. Woke up and smell the controversy. A Connecticut breakfast joint owner christened her new eatery, it would be a her, wouldn't it, Woke, after its morning food focus, but soon got served a big helping of plaints for conservative locals who didn't like the name's left-leaning connotations. Carmen Coindra opened the doors of Woke Breakfast Cafeteria on Main Street in Coventry on January the 19th, and has learnt very quickly that her name is not popular in her town. I don't think it'll be popular anywhere. Yeah, let's go to Woke. No, let's not. Zelensky's wife shares touching tribute on his 45th birthday as Ukraine war continues. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky's wife shared a moving but mournful birthday message to her husband amid the ongoing war with Russia. You smile much less now, the First Lady Olena Zelensky wrote on Twitter on Wednesday in honour of her embattled president's 45th birthday. It's first since Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2022. Zelensky accompanied her message with a grinning photo of the couple. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be right, would it, seeing people smiling all the time when they're leading a country that's currently being invaded. So yeah, I can understand that. It's like I don't understand when you see people on the picket lines, particularly nurses, and they're all jumping around and cheering and singing songs and everything. I'm like, it's not a fucking day out. Calm yourself. You're meant to be angry and, not waving and dancing and all that crap. Does me head in. Back in the 70s, when people were on the picket line, they were as miserable as hell and happy about it. Biden mislabels Ukraine as aggressor while announcing tanks to Kyiv. Oh, you gotta love Biden. Oh, what a pillock. President Biden wrongly stated that Ukraine was the aggressor in the war with Russia on Wednesday while announcing the donation of 31 M1 Abrams tanks to the beleaguered Eastern European country. The 8-year-old commander-in-chief made the erroneous error during a 9-minute speech at the White House soon after his administration confirmed the tank donation in coordination with European allies who were also donating tanks, including the United Kingdom, obviously, but we mentioned that last week. But yeah, Biden can't get a sentence out. I know the feeling, to be fair. Kellen Iceless, 7, killed mum Emily mauled by packs of what? A 7-year-old boy from Idaho was mauled to death by neighbours' 4 dogs, which also injured the child's mother when she tried to shield him from the animals, officials said. The brutal attack took place around 5:30 p.m. on Saturday in the Fort Hill Reservation, located more than 200 miles east of Boise. Her son Keelan was staying in an RV on Sandy Road when the boy went outside and failed to return. Horrendous. I mean, we have major issues with dogs at the moment in the UK. I touched on the sad death of a woman dog walker last week in the UK. The problem is people are breeding dogs for the wrong reasons, and some of them are becoming super aggressive, not because they've been bred, but because the way they're raised and the way they've been bred. They've not been, you know what I mean. US has sent 31 tanks in an abrupt Biden White House reversal. The US will send Ukraine 31 M1 Abrams tanks in its next step in reversal from the Pentagon stated opposition late last week. I'm proud to say the Abrams tanks are the best in the world. This is a tremendous new capability that Ukraine will be getting to boost their long-term defences. So yeah, Ukraine is getting a lot of tanks from a lot of different places, and I think that's good news. Magnitude 4.2 earthquake, multiple aftershocks shake Los Angeles area. A magnitude 4.2 earthquake and multiple aftershocks struck near Malibu in Los Angeles on Wednesday morning. The initial 4.2 magnitude quake occurred just offshore about 10 miles to the south of Malibu Beach at 2 a.m. The depth of the earthquake was about 9.2 miles. My bed shook hard enough to make me leap out of it and actually run out of the living room. Oh, run over to the living room, said one local resident. Not out of, why would you have a bed in the living room that you can jump out of? I mean, you can have a bed in the living room, you can't jump out of it, but not a bed in the living room. Anyway, yeah, I know what I mean. Let's move on. Tornado rocks Houston, 1 injured and 120,000 lose power. The National Weather Service in Houston issued a tornado emergency for the first time in the office's history on Tuesday for a twister that tore the southeast side of Houston metro area. The tornado was reported by both spotters and was confirmed by radar, according to NWS officials. Reports of tornadoes travelled east into the evening into Louisiana. Pictures and videos show the damage was left behind. Holy crap, someone said. I've got a tornado and the ground right in front of me. It was a storm chaser, so that'd be something for him to remember and have a happy time about, wouldn't it? Because that's what they do. They go for the thrill. New York dad bought shotgun 16 days before killing teen daughter in murder-suicide. An upstate New York dad who shot dead his 14-year-old honor-roll student daughter before turning the gun on himself bought the 20-gauge shotgun just 16 days before the shocking murder-suicide. Christopher Wood, 51, legally purchased a shotgun on January the 4th, just a little over 2 weeks before he used it to shoot Ava Wood on the 20th of January. Horrendous. Horrendous. America. Gun laws. Sort them. I get fed up saying it, but airport work violently sucked into plane engine after warnings to stay back. Now, I'm not an expert on these things, but I know I wouldn't necessarily walk past a Boeing 777's engine while it was, well, I wouldn't walk around the back of it or around the front of it whilst it was being powered up. An Alabama airport worker who was sucked into a plane engine was pulled in so violently that it shook the entire aircraft, killing her after she had been repeatedly warned to keep her distance. Mum of 3, Courtney Edwards, 34, has been identified as the ground handling agent who was killed in the accident at Montgomery Regional Airport on New Year's Eve. Yeah, horrible, horrendous. But yeah, you've got to, surely if you work in an airport, one of the first things they tell you is not to get close to a jet engine. Pope Francis has said homosexuality is a sin, but not a crime. No, It's a Sin was a song by Pet Shop Boys. Anyway, Pope Francis criticised laws that criminalises homosexuality as unjust, while still maintaining that being gay is a sin, which, yeah. Being homosexual isn't a crime, but it's a sin. Yeah, but let's distinguish between a crime and a sin. I mean, I don't understand how you can... Roman Catholics, let's go and smash a church. I'm joking, let's not, please. Yeah, bonkers. New York City finally unveils $11 billion train station offering some riders a shorter commute to Manhattan. It looks like $1 million, but it cost 11,000 times more. The Metropolitan Transportation Authority unveiled its sprawling $11 billion Grand Central Madison terminal that finally links Long Island Railroad to Manhattan's east side on Wednesday. One of the world's most expensive and delayed projects, apparently. Crossrail. HS2 even. Ukraine pulls last defenders back from Donetsk mining town of Soledar. Kyiv confirmed Wednesday that it's pulled back the last of its troops defending the eastern mining town of Soledar weeks after Russian paramilitaries claimed to have taken the city. Ukraine forces have retreated to prepare defensive positions outside the town, meant to preserve the lives of personnel. So yeah, sometimes in a war, especially a war like this, you've got to go back, regroup, and then go forward again. And that's what I think they're planning on doing. But I mean, Russia have been saying that they've held this town for a considerable length of time. So yeah, I think they're wrong. Washington police dog retiring after arresting 166 suspects over 10 years. I mean, it's not a lot. That's 16 a year. I mean, that's just over one a month. I mean, that's what I call a lazy police dog. Working like a dog. Yeah, a lazy dog. 11-year-old Washington police dog will hang up his leash after serving nearly 10 years with his partner to take down over 166 crooks across Edmonds. Edmonds Wash. K9 Hobbs and his partner Sergeant Robinson responded to over 500 calls and found 113 pieces of evidence while serving for the Edmonds Police Department, located roughly 17 miles north of Seattle. Hobbs was an asset to law enforcement. No, he wasn't. He was lazy. Less than one a month. Prince Azima of Brunei marries first cousin in lavish week-long wedding. Now, I don't get this cousin thing, but can you marry your first cousin? I don't understand how it works. The daughter of Sultan of Brunei has tied the knot with her first cousin in an extravagant ceremony at her father's palace. The princess and her new husband, Prince Bahi Ibn Jeffrey Bolkaik, kicked off their week of wedding celebrations in the independent sultanate on the island of Borneo in Southeast Asia on January the 8th. Prince Bahar is the son of the Sultan's brother, Prince Jeffrey. I'm not sure about that. Morally, I mean, it might be different in other places. Now, remember the transsexual. To be fair, it made it to the Indian news as well, but this is the American view on it. Male rapist transitions before trial, sent to all-female prison as transgender woman. A transgender woman from the United Kingdom who was convicted of raping 2 women when she was a man is being sent to a female prison to await sentencing, prompting an outcry from activists, politicians and even United Nations officials. Isla Bryson of Scotland is found guilty this week of committing rapes when she was previously named Adam Graham. Anyway, we covered what's happened later on, but I just thought it'd be interesting for you to know that even America thinks that Scotland's a bit mad. Man stole funeral home van with corpse in back and then dumped the body on a Chicago street. An Illinois man allegedly stole a funeral home van with a corpse inside and then dumped the dead man's body naked in a Chicago alleyway, according to police and family members. Dion Howard, 23, who remains at large, stole the vehicle on Saturday from outside the Collins and Stone Funeral Home in Rockford, according to the Rockford Police Department. The deceased body of a 47-year-old man was later recovered by the funeral parlour. But yeah. Russia pummels Kyiv with deadly missile strikes after allies pledge tanks. This is a typical spoilt brat mentality, isn't it? Things don't go your own way. You throw your toys out your pram, or in Putin's case, you throw your missiles out your country into Ukraine. Russia's unleashed a deadly barrage of missiles and self-exploding drones on Kyiv and other cities across Ukraine on Thursday, sending terrified residents running for cover in underground subway stations during the morning rush hour. The attacks came a day after Ukraine's Western allies, led by the US and Germany, agreed to send dozens of advanced battlefield tanks to help Ukraine push back Moscow's forces. Let's get to the stage now where I think we should just invade Russia. You know, it's just like, this is getting ridiculous. Something needs to be done, and something needs to be done sooner rather than later. Or not. But no, it does. Definitely. I've lost where I'm up to. Oh, there we go. This, what? Is that one we've just done? Yeah. That's why I didn't recognise it, because it's a weird picture. There we go. Biden. Yay! Biden weighs Europe trip to bolster Ukraine on a 1-year anniversary of Russia's invasion. President Biden may travel to Europe next month to show support for Ukraine on the 1-year anniversary of Russia's invasion of that country. 3 White House officials have reportedly said that, on Thursday that the visit was being discussed, adding that multiple locations, including Ukraine's western neighbour Poland, were being considered for the presidential travel. Now, if anything happens to Biden, whilst he's in Europe, and Russia's deemed to be responsible for it. We are talking World War III. Trans rapist wife calls her transition a ploy to get easier life in prison, which is what I mentioned before. The estranged wife of a transgender woman who was convicted of raping 2 women when she was a man has accused the monster of bullying authorities to get an easier life in prison after she was sent to a female prison to await sentencing. She told the Daily Mail that she had only known Isla Bryson as a shaven-headed Adam Graham in the name he was still using in 2020 when he was first in court. But yeah, it stinks of BS, absolutely. Meanwhile, King Charles evicts disgraced Prince Andrew from Buckingham Palace, allegedly. King Charles has sensationally sent his disgraced brother Prince Andrew packing, according to reports. The scandal-scarred royal, who was famously stripped of his royal and military honours by his late mother, Queen Elizabeth II, has been told to find a new place to live immediately. The Sun reports, the King has made it clear that Buckingham Palace is no place for Prince Andrew. No, and it's quite right as well. I mean, it's awful when it's family, but you know, when they do stuff like that, what are you supposed to do? You can't back them up, can you? US takes out ISIS terrorist in Somalia strike, including key facilitator Bilal al-Sudani. The US military eliminated a number of ISIS members, including one of the terrorist group's top operatives in a Wednesday strike in the northern Somalia. The ISIS leader was a key facilitator for ISIS's global network, was amongst multiple terrorists killed in the assault operation ordered by President Biden. Yep, fair play, nothing wrong with that. You know, you get what you deserve, don't you, in life. Michigan man dead after pointing a laser and opening fire at a police helicopter. Michigan State Police shot and killed a man who pointed a laser and fired a rifle at a police helicopter on Tuesday. The incident happened around 8:30 p.m. when the helicopter circled around the north downtown Detroit, according to police. The 33-year-old man had been staying in the abandoned home at the time of the shooting. 2 state troopers shot and killed him. And yeah, again, America, gun laws. Why are homeless people being allowed to have guns? Colorado man intentionally crashes pickup truck through front of police station. Terminator, anyone? A Colorado man intentionally ploughed his pickup truck through the front doors of a police station after he claimed people were following him. Nathan David Shackham, a 45, smashed his 2007 Chevrolet Silverado through a glass doors and into the lobby of the Grand Junction police station, coming to a stop at a counter inside around 12:30 p.m. on Wednesday. Yeah, you could say, I'll be back. I think it's the first time he said it, wasn't it? In Terminator. Yeah, because he didn't speak much in his other early films because of his accent. No one could understand him. Monterey Park shooter didn't know victims hadn't been to ballroom in years, which makes even less sense of what's going on. Investigators are stumped onto what drove the Monterey Park mass shooter to storm into Southern California ballroom and indiscriminately spray bullets into a crowd of people on what was supposed to be a joyous night celebrating Lunar New Year. The gunman did not know any of his victims and hadn't been to the dance hall for years, the police department said. Yeah, it's insane. Where are we up to? There. No firecrackers tonight. Biden jokes at a Lunar New Year event after California mass shootings. Oh, Biden, well done. President Biden cluelessly joked no firecrackers tonight while hosting a Lunar New Year event at the White House. Following 2 recent mass shootings of mostly Asian American victims in California, the president made the remark in a light-hearted tone after speaking about the murder of 11 people in Monterey Park, Calif. I mean, you would think that the president of the United States would avoid a Freudian slip, but to actually talk about the murders and then crack a joke, or think you're cracking a joke like that beggars belief, I'll be honest with you. Archaeologists discover 4,300-year-old Egyptian mummy and dozens of relics. Archaeologists in Egypt have discovered a 4,300-year-old mummy, possibly the oldest one ever found in the country, during an extraordinary dig near Cairo. The mummy, called Hekashepes, I'm not even joking, was located at the bottom of a 49-foot shaft near the Step Pyramid at Saqqara, where the team were working to uncover a cemetery of a 5th and 6th dynasty tombs dating back a considerable length of time. Yeah, that's... I quite like mummies, I'll be honest. Yeah, you prefer daddies. What? Biden calls for peaceful protest after Memphis cops arrested in Tyre Nichols' death. President Biden asked for a peaceful protest on Thursday after 5 fired Memphis police officers were arrested and accused of beating to death the 29-year-old Tyre Nichols. Nicholas was pulled out by police on January the 7th and died 3 days later from his injuries. He and all 5 officers are African American. I join Tyre's family in calling for peaceful protests, said Biden in a speech. Yeah, I kind of get where that's coming from, but surely the problem is with the police, not the protesters, so maybe sort the police out. Tyre Nichols' video includes acts that defy humanity, says Shaken Memphis chief. The Shaken police chief of Memphis said on Friday night the fatal cop beatdown of Tyre Nichols involved acts that defy humanity, adding it was horrific as the notorious 1991 beating of Rodney King. While the Tennessee city and the wider country braced for explosive release on Friday evening of the video, police chief Carolyn Davis ripped that the 5 allegedly officers involved would face full criminal justice. Now, you're the police chief of a police force that has just been caught up in a horrendous. I mean, I've only seen clips of the thing, but it's awful. And you come to the world's public dressed like you're going on a night out, with 6 tons of makeup on and not a hair out of place. Show some respect, woman. Your police department have murdered an innocent man. Fuming. UK museums to stop using mummy to describe ancient Egyptians. It's dehumanising. Woke. They've been dead for centuries. What's dehumanising is digging them up and then taking them apart and then putting them in museums for people to look at them, rather than reburying them and keeping them at peace. That's dehumanising. I can't even say it. Fuming. Hi Paul, by the way, just noticed you popped on. A dead Egyptian body or a live British matriarch? Read the clue that Alex Trebek gave Jeopardy. The contestants on in a February 2015 episode, What is a Mummy? One of the contestants replied. Though Trebek accepted the response, a museum administrator in the UK today might tut in its exact wording. Yeah. I don't agree with... You know, I mean... Obviously we're all going to die at some point, and you know, if buried, or if you die in I don't know, in an accident where your body can't be recovered, i.e. the middle of the sea or something, and then in a few thousand years your remains get discovered, I don't think I'd necessarily, well, I wouldn't know, would I? But I wouldn't necessarily want them to be put on display in a museum for people to gawp at. You know, this is a human from the 2020s. It's 3,000 years old. Look at the massive nose it's got. Oi. Watch it. And the tiny... Oi. Leave it. Right. No, I don't think so. Most Brits want Prince Harry to attend King Charles' coronation. I don't think so. More than half of Brits say Prince Harry should be invited to King Charles' coronation, a new poll has found. King Charles III will officially be crowned in an historic ceremony at Westminster Abbey. An Ipsos survey for The Standard, published Friday, found a surprising 60% of adults believe the Duke of Sussex should attend the event. I don't know anyone who thinks he should go to his father's coronation, unless he makes some kind of grumbling public apology for being an absolute twonk. Anyway, man shot during dispute on Manhattan subway. America, please sort yourselves out. A man was shot on the subway in downtown Manhattan early on Saturday morning. The 34-year-old strap hanger was shot in the torso during a dispute with another man and his female companion on a northbound N trail as it pulled into the Canal Street and Broadway station just after 1 a.m. The victim was taken to Bellevue Hospital in a stable condition, according to police. The suspect fled the station with a female following the shooting. Yeah. Do you not think that the reason why, when the United Kingdom has a shooting, it's major news for about a week, is because it doesn't happen that much because we control our guns and you lot don't? Snow leads to massive pile-up in Wisconsin. Judges, dozens injured. Dozens of people were injured in a massive traffic pile-up amid snowy conditions in southern Wisconsin on Friday, which blocked Interstate 3990 for hours. Belmont Memorial Hospital said at least 27 people were treated for injuries sustained in the crash. The extent of the injuries was not immediately clear. State patrol officials said snow and ice and whiteout conditions were factors in the crash. Yeah, you think that people who drive in the snow every year would know how to drive in the snow, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? Two Memphis sheriff's deputies investigated in Ty Nichols' murder. Two more law enforcement officers are under investigation in connection to the death of Tyre Nichols. A pair of Shelby County deputies were suspended on Friday night shortly after Memphis police released a video of the brutal and fatal beatdown of Nichols, allegedly at the hands of 5 city officers. Having watched the videotape for the first time tonight, I have concerns about the 2 deputies who appeared on the scene later in the videos, and they are currently under investigation and have been suspended until the investigation is continued. Memphis cops pepper sprayed themselves during Ty Nichols' arrest. I mean, if it wasn't so tragic, it would almost be Keystone Cops funny, but it's not. There's nothing funny about this at all. Memphis police officers charged with senselessly beating a 29-year-old Ty Nichols during a traffic stop pepper sprayed each other during his arrest. Police stopped Nichols for alleged reckless driving at an intersection on January the 7th with their guns drawn and demanded he get out of the car. They didn't demand he got out of the car, they dragged him out of the car. They then yelled expletive-laced command. I mean, yeah, these cops deserve everything that the cops got who were charged a couple of years, a couple of years ago now, isn't it? Well, 18 months ago. Over an hour of footage reveals horrors of fatal Tyre Nichols police beating. 4 videos totaling about 66 minutes show the blow-by-blow of the January the 7th police beating that ended with Ty Nichols' death in Memphis. The first video, taken from a police body camera, shows cops with guns drawn swarming Nichols' car, which was stopped at a red light. One officer yanks open the door and yells, "Get out! Get the F out of the effing car." "Damn, I didn't do anything," said the 29-year-old FedEx worker. Yeah, he's a FedEx worker. You think you know how to drive as well. In fact, they've said that they've not found any evidence that he actually drove recklessly. New York City protesters to take the streets after Ty Nichols' beating video released. Protesters in the streets hit the streets of New York City Friday night to express their outrage over the fatal police beating of Ty Nichols after video of the violent confrontation was released to the public. Several different demonstrations erupted across the Big Apple, including ones in Union Square, Times Square and Grand Central Terminal. The protests appeared to remain peaceful early Friday night, although there was damage to at least one police car, and I think it was one of the new police cars as well, had its windscreen smashed in. Biden and other politicians condemn horrific Ty Nichols beating video. Well, you can't not condemn it. I mean, horrendous. President Biden led a chorus of outrage over the gut-wrenching body camera footage showing the savage police beating of black motorist Ty Nichols at the hands of Memphis police officers that was released Friday evening. Biden released a statement saying he was deeply pained by the attack and added the footage is certain to leave people justifiably outraged, but please protest calmly and peacefully. The urinal made it to American news as well. A different urinal, this one, so there must be more than one of them. A man was crushed to death by pop-up urinal outside Harry Potter Theatre. A man has died after being by a pop-up urinal in London's busy West End. The tragedy occurred shortly after 1 p.m. local time outside the Palace Theatre, currently home to the popular production of Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. The victim was thought to be performing below-ground maintenance on the hydraulic public urinal when he was crushed. The urinals are usually concealed below street level, so I've absolutely no. I'm bemused about what they are. I mean, it's tragedy, obviously, but I am absolutely bemused about what they are. A great white shark decapitates a diver in the first fatal attack of 2023. A 19-foot-long great white shark decapitated a diver early this month as he harvested shellfish off the coast of Mexico, reportedly making the first fatal shark attack of the year. The horrific tragedy occurred while Manuel Lopez, 53, was gathering altripe, a type of mollusk, off Benito in Sonora on the west coast of Mexico. Yeah, horrendous. Absolutely horrible. Horrible. Oh, hang on. The good news, though, there is some good news. No, that's probably not the right thing to say, but you know what I mean. Oh, wrong one. Hang on. There we go. That is the end of Meanwhile in America. So, meanwhile, down under, g'day sport. What's going on in our lovely, what accent was that? In our lovely country, what's going on in our country? Oh dear. Police in Victoria say they are fed up after an increase in hoons on dirt bikes are putting lives at risk. Police are fed up with dirt bike hoons. And aren't we all fed up of people on dirt bikes riding around estates and on roads and doing wheelies down main streets and on stuff like that? In Australia they call them hoons, and I think we should pick that up because it just sounds pretty offensive. So yeah, I'll go with that. Before kids return to school, because obviously they've had their summer holidays, g'day sport, before kids return to school, you've got to get them vaccinated because of the gastro flu thing that's going around. An uptick in gastroenteritis has caused experts... start again, shall we? It's Australia. I can't read Australian. An uptick in gastroenteritis cases as experts on high alert as kids prepare to return to school. Health authorities believe it's likely due to a weakened immune system following 2 years of lockdown, which is what we've got going on with strep A and various smallpox, scarlet fever and mumps and chicken pox and colds and flu and things like that at schools, because you know our kids are not immune to it because they've been away from school for so long. Hence my 5-year-old grandson, remember a couple of weeks ago, me saying on my weekly vlog, that we had to take him to hospital, and it turned out he may have had strep A. They've given him some antibiotics, and he's fine now, and he's back at school. A lot of kids just haven't got immunity because they haven't been exposed to it previously. Yeah, that's what happens. But having said that, how many people would have died if we hadn't have had the lockdowns? So it's, you know, avoiding the virus. Ensure children are vaccinated, particularly for rotavirus and common gastro cause. Maintain proper hygiene by washing hands thoroughly. I think you should teach all kids that anyway. And keep kids at home for 48 hours after symptoms stop. Symptoms being... That's my impression of someone. The new PM... No, it's not the new PM, it's the old PM. PM announces plan to tackle crime crisis in Central Australia. Basically, because there's such a small population in Central Australia, crime has gone mad there. And it's very difficult to police because the area is so vast. Takeaway purchases of alcohol will not be allowed on Mondays and Tuesdays at all. On the remaining days, alcohol can only be purchased between 3 and 7 p.m. 1 transaction limit per person each day. Reduced trading hours on Sundays. Appointment of a Central Australian regional controller to oversee the plan. So basically, you like a drink, they are stopping you from that because there's a lot of crime going on where you live, which is not necessarily your fault. Supermarket giants and energy producers are among some of the major industries that will appear before an inquiry into the soaring cost of living. Did I mention it's all over the world and people whinge about it being in the UK only? No, it's everywhere. Inflation rises to 7.8%. It's the highest yearly increase since 1990. It's all over the world. They're less impacted by fuel prices because they're so far away that all their sources of fuel are not from Europe or anywhere around there. So that's why the inflation is slightly less, if you're wondering why it's only 7.8%, but it's still extremely high for them. NASA insists it will be a near miss with no chance of the asteroid hitting Earth. An asteroid the size of a delivery truck will whip past Earth at the weekend. It's already gone and it didn't do anything, so they were right. NASA were correct in their assumption that it would not do anything bad. Meanwhile in America, a McDonald's has opened which is run by only robots. Literally, there are no humans. The drive-through, you order and you pay, and then when you drive around, your food comes out on a little tray thing, and you pick it off, and it goes back in again, and then you drive off. If you go inside, you pay, and your food comes out on a conveyor belt thing. Yeah, I always thought working at McDonald's would be a safe job, but apparently not. Elton John cancels concert amid severe weather in New Zealand. Auckland, New Zealand has been having absolutely appalling weather. Legendary rock star singer Elton John cancelled his concert in Auckland due to severe flooding. I can imagine he took it well because he's well known for his politeness and lack of swearing and whatnot. I'm lying. Henry the seal elephant is certainly making his mark. You remember the seal last week? Well, he's back, and he's still causing havoc in various coastal harbours and towns in the area. In fact, it's the area that Anna Mills, who presents rugby on the TV and also does The Last Leg and is a stand-up comedian and occasionally appears on QI and things like that. He said that was where he was staying for the summer whilst he was in Australia. You've heard of snakes on a plane, but have you heard of a snake in a dishwasher? This is a clip of a video where they take the front panel of the dishwasher off and they find the snake inside. How they knew it was there, I don't know. I can only assume they saw it slither into the dishwasher. But yeah, reasons why I wouldn't live in Australia. Djokovic's father to miss tonight's semi-final. Novak Djokovic's father will miss his son's semi-final in the Australian Open tonight amid intense scrutiny over his appearance alongside Putin supporters. He was filmed on Wednesday alongside Putin supporters who were flying banned Russian flags, with some calling for him to be thrown out of the Open. Djokovic, not his dad. But yeah, with parents like that, who needs parents? A state of emergency has been declared in New Zealand after recording its wettest 24 hours on record, leading to sudden widespread flooding. We're talking inches of rain in minutes. You just can't comprehend the amount of rain they're having. That's the airport at Auckland. Auckland? Not Auckland. Is it Auckland? Yeah, it is Auckland, isn't it? Oh, we've already done him. Price of beer to increase by 3.7%, bringing the cost of beer tax to a 30-year high. Yeah, taxes are going up everywhere. It's not just the UK, it's worldwide. Australian beer drinkers are about to be hit with another tax increase, making it the second time in 6 months. The rise can be attributed to the growing inflation rates, and beer drinkers can expect to pay approximately $1.50 per slab more per slab due to the 3.7 tax increase. A slab, I assume, is a glass. I don't know. Yeah, so we had snakes in a dishwasher, and they mentioned snakes on a plane. This is a snake in a helicopter. Yeah. Why I wouldn't live in Australia. And finally, from Australia, good day sport. GPs have subsidised patient care for a long time. The Medicare rebate hasn't kept up with the cost of providing care. Bulk billing GP crisis hits all-time high, according to new report. Yep, there's a health education in Australia because it's a worldwide thing. Everything that's going on here is happening all over the world. All over the world. Meanwhile, in India, what's going on in India then? Not a lot this week, I'll be honest with you. I'm not saying it's disappointing. There's not a lot going on. I think it's not a bad thing. I'm saying not a lot. Yeah, no, not a lot. Traffic advisory in Delhi for Republic Day parade dress rehearsal. Checks routes to avoid. Basically, they have a Republic Day in India every year, and one would assume that you lived in Delhi, where they have them. You would know where they would be, and you would make arrangements on the day of the practices and the actual Republic Day not to be travelling on the roads. Anyway, Delhi Traffic Police issued a traffic advisory for today's Republic Day parade dress rehearsal. Check out the routes to avoid delay in Delhi, they said. Every day's a delay in Delhi, isn't it? As we saw with the traffic that we looked at a week or two ago. Yep, and that's classed as normal over there. Doctors, medical interns, amongst those peddling marijuana. The police have booked several people, including doctors and medical interns, for drug peddling and consumption in the last month. Not consumption as in the illness, consumption as in the consumption of drugs. 4 killed, 2 injured after car collides with truck in Garnet, Nasivara. 4 people were killed while 2 others were injured after a car collided with a container truck. Now remember last week or the week before, they were saying that a lot of the truck drivers' eyesight is so bad they can't see where they're going. Hosting exercises with friends. South Africa defends planned military drills with Russia and China. South Africa on Monday defended its planned military drills with Russia and China by saying that hosting such exercises with friends was a natural course of relations. I didn't have South Africa down as being... yeah, I did. US plans to test nuclear-powered spacecraft by 2027. NASA will partner with the US Military Research and Development Agency to develop a nuclear thermal propulsion engine and launch it into space as soon as 2027. NASA Administrator Bill Nielsen has said, which will be interesting. But of course, India are really into space travel, aren't they, and all that. Samosa beats biscuits with tea tradition. According to a new survey, people are liking the combination of a samosa with tea more than biscuits. I always thought that biscuits and tea was a British thing, I'll be honest with you. Apparently not, but apparently it is again. I mean, I don't drink tea, so I don't know. 7 arrested for attempting to sell minor girls. 7 people, including the parents of 2 minor girls, were arrested for attempting to sell the girls. I mean, I know it's different cultures and all that kind of thing, but selling your own children, no. Amid peeing controversies, Air India modifies in-flight alcohol service policy. Amid recent incidents of unruly passenger behaviour, I assume peeing, Air India has modified its in-flight alcohol service policy, wherein cabin crew have been told to tactfully refuse further serving of alcohol if needed, i.e. stop peeing between the seats, because it stinks. US troops kill senior Islamic State official and 10 other terrorists in northern Somalia. That's not him. That's an American guy, one of the not military, senators or whatever. Haiti cops block streets, barge into airports to protest officer killings. Now this is a turn up for the books. It's actually the police who are doing all the protests because they are fed up of police officers being killed. Haiti police officers blocked roads and broke into the airport to protest against killing of 6 officers by armed gangs. Yeah. Man ends life after jumping in front of a train. A 35-year-old man allegedly committed suicide by jumping in front of a suburban train. He has left a suicide note and a video clip which he has blamed his colleagues and moneylenders for this step. Again, mental health, it's a worldwide thing, and people need help. Air India urination case. The man who urinated on coal flyer moves bail plea. A Sessions Court on Friday will hear a fresh bail plea filed by this man accused of urinating on a woman on board a New York Delhi Air India flight in November 2022. I mean, what makes you pee on someone? It's just... US, this is what I was on about. US demonstrates its military might in Beijing's backyard. United States demonstrated its military power with dozens of combat planes and helicopters flying around in the South China Sea. Plus, there's a picture of the aircraft carrier where you can't see the aircraft carrier because of all the planes and helicopters on it. US House panel vote next month on possible TikTok ban. The House of Foreign Affairs Committee on Friday said it was planning to hold a vote next month on a bill aimed at blocking the use of China's popular social media app TikTok in the United States. Like I say, they're still allowing people, including students, to walk around with guns. And finally, general elections likely later this year, says Peru Pres Dina Bularat. As the Andean leader struggles to keep a hold on protests, Peruvian president on Friday said she was considering moving up general elections to later this year because all these problems we've got here are worldwide and they're protesting about it. The cost of living, fuel costs, poor wages, inflation, everything. They're all protesting about it in Peru as well. So everyone says, it's just in the UK all this happens. It is not. It's so not. And that basically ends the news for this week, in what a week that was. Apart from, we need to find the hero of the year. And I've been thinking about this. Hero of the week, sorry. I've been thinking about this. And I'm going to plump for, because there's one thing I forgot to mention. What was that? My hero of the week is not in that file. Oh, it's in that file. There you go. It's the bear. The pie eating contest in Wigan. Oh, I'm not mentioning that rubbish. He got mentioned on last leg, to be fair. 35 seconds to eat a meat potato pie. It's quite impressive, I'll be honest with you, but still. We're talking about real news here, Toph. But yeah, I think the 400 bear selfie, I think that deserves to be the hero of the week, because that was superb. So the bear 400 selfies. Mind you, there's been pictures of chimpanzees and things taking pictures of themselves, haven't there? So I suppose that could be a thing. The villain of the week, though, so many to choose from. Literally so many to choose from, but we can't keep it too dark. Dum de dum de dum. Hero, villain of the week. Villain of the week. Villains of the week. Any British MP, any British MPs you mentioned, or the cops. Yeah, the cops in America it's a bit dark. I mean, obviously, and you got Putin and all that as well. I think we'll go with no. I think we'll actually go with Rishi Sunak because he has basically not done anything when the stuff that needs to be done. So I think Rishi Sunak, for his lack of action, decisive action, over tax, Boris, bullying, all those should be suspended from the Parliament. Until things have been sorted out. That would be fair, wouldn't it? I would have thought. That was fair. Anyway, it's been a very quiet week this week. Toff, Marty and Paul, thank you very much for watching. What have I done? Rishi's Inchy Richie. Rishi Rich. Rishi Rich. We're going to go back to the bear though. I'm going to leave the bear as the picture of the. Oh no, I'm not. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put that back up because it messed it up last time. So there we go. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, if indeed you still are. I'll tell you one thing that's amazing is the fact that my book is filling up quite rapidly. So we'll be back next week to see what a week that was. Until then, thanks for watching.